If you want to know how your medications will be covered as of January 1st, 2024, then this video is for you. 2024 has a landmark change on how drug coverage will work for those on Medicare, which I will go over for you in this video. We do have an entire video around how drug coverage works in 2023, 2024, and 2025, but that video got a little bit long, so this is just focused on 2024. Let's get into this. The number 4 is going to be significant when we're talking about drug coverage. There are 4 different phases of coverage that you are dealing with, and these 4 phases all have to do with how 4 different payers are interacting with medication costs. The 4 payers are you, your drug plan insurance company, the manufacturers of the medications, and Medicare. So if you are used to drug coverage with an insurance plan through work, you likely have predictable set copays or coinsurance amounts every single month. Well, that won't be the case with Part D coverage. You could experience different costs for the same prescription each time you go to the pharmacy, depending on which phase you are in, because those 4 payers shift responsibility in each phase. I'm going to bring in the trusty donut to help me explain the phases and the payers. The first phase of Part D coverage is called the deductible phase. A deductible is a dollar amount that you pay first before your insurance company is willing to help you at all. You are the only payer in this phase. Now, Part D plans vary a lot, and the maximum deductible allowed for 2024 is $545. Some plans may be lower. Some plans may not have any deductible. This is common with Advantage plans, but most standalone plans have some sort of a deductible, the maximum being $545 in 2024. Now, some plans will cover certain types of medications even when you are in the deductible phase. Lower cost generics or other low tier medications may be covered by your plan, or at least are deductible exempt, meaning that your plan will help out before you hit your deductible. But this whole how Part D works conversation really matters for people who are on high cost, usually brand or specialty medications, and how low cost generics are covered isn't really the biggest issue. We're going to use a common brand medication called Xarelto. The retail cost is right around $600 a month. In the deductible phase, if you're on a plan with a maximum deductible, since you are the only payer in this phase, you are responsible for the first $545. So in January, month 1, you would pay the first $545. And since your deductible is satisfied, you move into the next phase called the initial coverage phase. In the initial coverage phase, things work a little bit differently and probably more like what you're used to. You have a copay or a coinsurance amount that you must pay each time you fill that medication. In our example with Xarelto, you're in the initial coverage phase on that first fill. So the difference between $600 and the $545 deductible that you already paid will have a copay that you're responsible to pay as well. For this example, we'll say that the copay in the initial coverage phase is a $40 copay. Okay, so month 1, you pay $545 for the deductible plus $40 for a copay for a total of $585. Your drug plan pays $15. You've satisfied the deductible phase. You're in the initial coverage phase. Well, month 2, February, rolls around and you get that prescription filled again. Again, the retail cost is $600. You pay that copay of $40. Not so bad in February. January surprises a lot of people with that first month's deductible and copay of $585, but February and the next few months are much less costly for you. The payers here are you and your insurance company. Your responsibility can be up to 25% of the retail cost of the medication. This will all depend on the tier that your medication is on. Generic, brand, specialty, so the max that you'll see is a 25% coinsurance in this phase. In our Xarelto example, you'll notice that a $40 copay is about 6.6% of the retail cost of the medication. Your insurance company is taking care of the remaining 93.4% of the cost. Your specific medications may be covered a bit differently. Okay, life in the initial coverage phase isn't nearly as tough as the deductible phase. However, for some people, this comfort and stability will change. In the back end, every month as you are getting your medications, your plan is keeping track of the total dollars spent on not only this medication, but all of your medications. Month 1 was $600 for Xarelto, plus any other medications you may be taking. Month 2 is $600, plus any other medications that you may be taking. Once the total dollar amount adds up to the initial coverage threshold, which in 2024 is $5,030, you move out of initial coverage and into what is called the coverage gap. And the coverage gap has another name, which you can quickly guess from this donut, the notorious donut hole. Using just Xarelto, you would meet $5,030 in just over 8 months. If you have other medications, that could be fewer than 8 months. What this means is that for those who will be watching this in August of 2024, September may bring some surprises for you. While in the donut hole, you are now responsible for 25% of the retail cost of that medication. Remember that in the initial coverage phase, 25% was the max that you would pay, and with Xarelto, you weren't even close to that. It was 6.6%. In the coverage gap, or the donut hole, you will be responsible for 25%, which in this case would be $150. So now you've had a month of $585 to pay, which was uncomfortable, but because you watched this video and others like it, you were at least ready for it. You had 7 or 8 months of $40 copays that you've had to pay, and you got used to that. You were comfortable with that. And then come month 8 or 9, you are now paying $150 every single month that you fill that prescription. Not as nice as the initial coverage $40 copays, also not as bad as the deductible costs. And we add a new payer in this phase. You are responsible for 25% of the cost. Your Part D plan is responsible for 5% of the drug cost, and the drug manufacturer is now responsible for 70% of the drug cost while you are in the coverage gap. Let's talk about how to get out of the donut hole. Remember the $5,030 threshold that we had to meet in the initial coverage phase to move into the coverage gap? Now there is a new threshold for the coverage gap, and that number in 2024 is $8,000. Now don't make the mistake of saying, oh, this is easy, it's just $8,000 minus $5,030, and I'm now responsible for $2,970. No, that would be too easy. The dollars that went into the initial coverage threshold were all of the dollars that you paid that were either your deductible, your copays, your coinsurance, plus the dollars that your Part D plan paid. In the coverage gap, the only dollars that are going towards that $8,000 threshold number are the dollars that you pay and the dollars that the manufacturer contributes. It does not include the dollars that your insurance company has been contributing this entire time, which in our example, over the past 8 or so months, your Part D plan has paid around $4,100, and that amount does not go to your coverage gap threshold. So just the manufacturer dollars and your dollars up to this point. And up to this point, you've already contributed around $865 through your deductible and copays. Okay, if you just have brand medications, the estimate for your out-of-pocket costs through the coverage gap is about $3,300, which again includes that $865 you've already paid through deductibles and copays. The coverage gap gets uncomfortable for a lot of people. Now, if you are just on Xarelto, you're probably not getting out of the coverage gap. But if you're on Xarelto and other high-cost medications, or you're not on Xarelto, but you're on some high-cost medications, once we hit the threshold of $8,000, this is what makes 2024 special. In 2024, the last phase is catastrophic coverage. The big change for 2024 compared to the previous years is that the payers in catastrophic coverage have changed. Your plan pays 20% of the costs. Medicare pays 80% of the costs. You are no longer a payer. Once you meet your coverage gap threshold, that acts as your maximum out-of-pocket. And this is huge news in the Part D world. Prior to this, there was no out-of-pocket maximum on drug costs. So for those on really expensive medications, a huge chunk of their retirement was being put towards drug costs. In 2024, there is finally a cap, a limit, a maximum on your out-of-pocket responsibility for medications. There will be many people across the country who will be able to rest a little easier as a result of this change. Now, I do need to bring us all back down to earth just a little bit. These costs will be made up somewhere. We don't have all of the details quite yet, but shifting costs responsibilities away from you and creating a max will mean that those costs are made up by other entities, more specifically, drug manufacturers, insurance companies, and the Medicare system. So, could we see higher premiums? Yes, the average Part D premium in 2023 was $31.50. 2024 could be higher. We'll have to wait and see. Could we see a shift in formularies and tiers? Yes. Could we see higher copays or coinsurance amounts? Yes. There are several potential levers for those payers to pull, so this feels like as good a time as ever to ask you to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. As things evolve with this and other areas of Medicare, we'll keep you up to date and we'll keep you informed. Hey, hopefully this was helpful, and it's much shorter than our other video, but if you want to see how 2023 and 2025 worked/will work, go check those videos out. I will see you in the next video.